The Kobayashi script by Sylvain Berger creates a few progressive rendering string options by default, and I prepare a fresh Maya scene for you to show you actually what it does. The name of the scene is the IBL progressive and I erase strings. Is a fresh scene, is a new scene, and to see what the Kobayashi script does, if you open the main render view, this is just the normal main render view. Here on the top right you will see this small icon which enables or disables the progressive rendering feature. But I don't want to click it now because I would like to show you another thing. So reduce this. Okay, let's open the outliner, and to find the Me Default Option node, which is the default is the mental ray node where all the mental ray features, lighting and rendering features, are controlled by this node and are listed in this node. So just select the display drop-down menu and disable, uncheck the DAG objects only. So actually you will see all the other nodes which is hidden by default. If you check carefully, you will see that the Me Default Option node is still not listed. So there are two ways to create this node, and the first way, the more easy, is to just click the icon of the Kobayashi script. Now if you go back to the outliner, you will see that actually the Me Default Option node should be listed already. Wait 1 second that I don't find it. Let's scroll down. Here is. This is the Me Default Option node. Now, to show you another simple way to force Maya to display the mental ray Me Default Option node, I reopen the EBL progressive and erase string scene, the fresh scene, and the easy way, reduce the outliner, but wait 1 second, I have to show you again that this is really a fresh scene, and uncheck the DAG objects only option in the outliner, and as you can see the Me Default Option node is still not listed. So another easy way to do this is select or the Quality tab or the Indirect Lighting tab of the main render setting panel. Let's check. Now I click the Quality tab. Let's go back to the outliner, and here it is. You see, this is another way to enable the Me Default Option node. This way to force Maya to display the mental ray Me Default Option node is also confirmed by R-Brady. Now let's scroll down in the PDF. Here. 1 second. Okay, here. R-Brady in this section of the PDF, he explained what are the good and the bad parts of the new E-Ray render engine. Anyway, let's scroll down a little bit. Okay, let's check this part. Progressive max sample string, where? He asked. And here he explained why the string options are not created or displayed by default by Maya when you open Maya. The things are that the Me Default Option node isn't created when you start Maya. You have to somehow get Mental Ray to create it before being able to modify it. The simplest way is to open the Render Setting panel, switch to Mental Ray, and for example go to the Indirecting Lighting tab, or the Quality tab, like we just did before. And that will create the requested node that you can now modify. Since we are already looking at the main PDF and the section where ADOBE explain what are the bad and the good things of the new Array render engine, here under you can see that he said that when he apply a texture to a poly object or whatever object he use, even a new RBS, and try to repeat, usually should be a poly mesh object, and try to repeat the texture in the UV, it shows the modification inside Maya, means Maya displays that the texture is repeated, is styled, but when he try to render the scene, he get the texture 1, 1, means it's not repeated. This is a major bug of the new Array render engine, and I would like to say that in the PDF, in the tutorial, I explain the way to avoid this problem and to fix this problem. Is a workaround, and actually is here. You see, where the name of the section is the Array render engine, and the Maya plays 2D and 3D texture nodes. Please note that the standard Maya plays 2D texture and plays 3D texture nodes are not supported by the new Array render engine, as you can see. Here I quote again ADOBE. Let's scroll a little bit down in the PDF, so I will explain a little bit more about this bug, about this new Array render engine bug problem. So here there is the explanation of what the place 3 2D texture node is from the main My Online help, but we don't need this at the moment because I would like to show you here, still from the main online help, is a quote. The repeat UV is specifies how many copies of the texture map are mapped within the coverage area along either the U or the V direction, depending on the texture. So here I explain that the new Array render engine, if you need to use values greater than 1 in the texture repeat UV fields of the place 2D texture node, I suggest you to use the UV texture editor panel instead to scale the UV with the standard Maya scale tool. If there is time in this presentation, at the end of the presentation I will show you how to do this, okay? How to avoid this problem, and I will describe this workaround for you, okay? I just say that I will explain to you this little workaround to avoid the Array render engine, this bug of the Array render engine, because anyway we will use for this presentation the classroom scene, which are located in the CG Overdrive Production Scene 2011 folder. And because, as I say in the PDF already, the presentation will not be affected by the Array texture repeat UV bug, since the place 2D texture nodes present in the scene use the default input value 1 for both the repeat UV fields. Now I will show you what I mean from the screenshot. Let's scroll down to the screenshot, zoom in a little bit. As you can see, all the classroom scenes use the default value 1 for the U and the V values in the repeat UV fields. You see, this is the place to the texture node. Now let's zoom out again and let me scroll down a little bit more. Yeah, later I will teach you also this. But first I would like to go back to the Maya scene that we opened before, the fresh Maya scene, where now there is the mid default option node. First of all, I would like to draw your attention that to make sure that mental ray is chosen to be the default renderer in the render using drop-down menu, because when you start Maya from scratch, usually it defaults the default renderer is the Maya software. To make sure that the default renderer will be mental ray, you must open the plugin manager always, and you must always check that the Maya to mental ray MLL option, let's call it option, but it's a script actually, is loaded, okay? And this enables the mental ray render engine. Now that we make sure that the mental ray render engine is loaded, let's reduce the plugin manager panel, and in the render setting panel, under the quality tab, in the ray trace scanline quality section, just check that this drop-down menu, which is the sampling, is the previous sampling, adaptive sampling, that which I was speaking about before in the presentation, which is the previous mode, the sampling mode that the mental ray use until come out this new progressive rendering sampling mode. And as I say before in the presentation, the adaptive sampling mode use tiles, means the image in the main render view is rendered in tiles that go parallel until the final solution, and you have no chance to see the image until all the tiles are rendered, and this is the major problem of this sampling mode. With the new progressive sampling mode, you can stop the render anytime, and you will see very soon what I'm talking about. I would like to draw your attention on this value, 0.1, which is set in the anti-aliasing contrast field, and later in the presentation, when we will use the progressive rendering sampling mode, we will talk about this again. Anyway, I will anticipate for you that the anti-aliasing contrast value is one of the most important values when you use the mental ray render engine, because it drives the quality, the final quality of the image. Example, if you reduce the value from 0.1 to 0.05, means you reduce by half the value, the final quality of the image will be much more sharp. The quality was increased very much, but sadly also the render time will increase as well. So it's a matter of finding the correct trade between quality and time. Just remember that most you decrease this value, more the quality increase and the render time increase. Since we are talking already about very important mental ray settings and inputs, I will take the chance to teach you how to optimize Maya to be used with the new mental ray 3.8 lighting and rendering features, but also with all the other lighting and rendering features of mental ray. So first of all, I suggest you to go to the render drop-down menu in the main Maya toolbar and scroll down to the render current frame. As you can see, here is already set the progress messages, but usually it come out with the warning messages always. These are set by default. Warning messages, actually this controls the message that the main output window will display during rendering by mental ray, and I suggest you to set this to the progress messages, because the progress messages will tell you much more about what is happening during rendering, if there is some problem. This as a beta tester we use a lot to look at the output window all the time when mental ray is rendering. It will tell you if there is some problem or something. In the parallelism section, I suggest you to usually it is set by default to this auto render threads checkbox, let's call it like this. By default usually is checked, but I suggest you to uncheck and input the number of processor that your system is using. In my case, I am using a i7, Intel processor i7, so I input 7 for the number of processor of threads in this case. By default, Maya and mental ray, when you open a fresh scene, sets the auto tiling task size, which is this one, to the default value of 64. In this case, when in production, I usually reduce by half, because this was suggested by Zap Anderson, which is a very power user of mental ray. Actually, he's a programmer of mental ray, because by reducing by half the task size, you will improve the stability of mental ray in mostly when you are batch rendering, and soon we will open the batch render window, so I will show you what I talk about. Anyway, remember, reduce by half. Default is 64 and you just input 32. It gives much more stability and avoid crashes of mental ray. This is a production trick. In the memory section, uncheck the auto memory limit, because by default it's set to be enabled. You just uncheck and let Maya calculate the soft limit. In this case, calculate already the soft limit of memory. This is based also on the amount of RAM, random access memory, installed on your system. On my laptop there is 8 GB of RAM, so if mental ray calculate, it will calculate something a little bit below, let's say 80% of the maximum amount of RAM available on the system. In this case, it calculates 6228 megabyte. Okay, this is a 6 giga about. And now just drag select this value in the memory limit and control copy and open the batch render panel. Okay, here everything is set already by default, because I always instruct mental ray to use these settings, but usually is not, trust me. So you should first you should copy from here and then in the batch render panel input the same values. That's it, like this. Because usually auto memory limit is enabled, so is a mental ray will choose by himself the value that he think is correct. But I prefer to do it like this. Like this is more stable and it works better. Now that we set the correct values in the main render current frame panel and in the batch render panel, we can set the other input to optimize Maya for production. So just select the window drop-down menu and scroll down to the setting and preferences drop-down menu and open the preferences panel. Here in the preferences panel, I suggest you to scroll down to the rendering section and of course set as a preferred renderer mental ray. As you can see, it's the same option as in the render settings, in the main render settings panel, and choose the 32-bit floating point HDRI option, because we will, as you will see later, we will create images that actually are EXR images, which are 32-bit float pointing images that have a higher range of color information compared to the 8-bit integer images. I'm absolutely sure that you will be guessing why the use Maya style alpha detection on file texture is enabled. And my answer is that sometime with Maya mental ray you must go by feeling, and I always keep this option enabled for backward compatibility. This option actually is a global settings and is the equivalent of the alpha is luminance option found under the color balance section of the file node in the attribute editor of the file nodes. And if, for example, now we will create a texture, for example, let's say, just open the hypershade and let's map the Lambert with the texture. Let me reduce all these windows. Okay, so just put a texture, whatever. We will use a normal 2D texture, okay, whatever it is let's choose checker, okay? It's really not important what you choose, but just go down to the color balance section, open the effects section, wait, and here there is the alpha is luminance option, which is disabled. I can suggest you to enable this option when you use the, for example, this is the checker two-dimensional texture. Enable this option when you are using texture for bump mapping, okay, for bump mapping purpose.